Our main business is manufacturing aftermarket performance exhaust. I started in 2000. I remember clearly we were waiting for the GST to kick in, and I thought, being a new business, I'll let the GST start and then just trade from there on in. I was accumulating machinery up to that for about 6 months prior, and then, we opened up straight after that. Self-taught through my dad, who's a pretty hands-on sort of a guy when it comes to any engine or sewing machine or whatever he puts his hands on, he can rebuild anything. Worked in the exhaust centre with my father, like he had a local exhaust shop. I was there for about 13 years and we were cutting cars up and playing with them, and so learning how to grind and weld and TIG welder, MIG welder, all that sort of stuff. You probably learn more in that aspect than what you do at school, because a lot of people do the theory and trying to understand it, but practice sort of hands-on and helps you a lot better. Dad had a lot of model cars, so he used to pull the motors out of the big cars and put them into the little cars with the blowers and make up sort of stuff like that. So I was addicted to that pretty early on, which is where I think I love cutting cars up these days and making something out of them. I don't remember it, but I was taken to Calder when I was 1 year old in a pram with earmuffs on, watching jet cars of all things. My drag racing experience started off obviously following my father around. Like, he used to have a Cortina back in the day, and he had a Cleveland in that with twin turbos, and then that come out and then went to a big block, and then that come out, went to a methanol big block, and then we contemplated putting a blower on top of that. And so, I think in '89, he might have brought a top fuel dragster from Heathcote Park, actually, back at the Nationals in the day. It used to be the old White Lightning car, which was the former Jim Reed car, which was quite good. Like, I think in his third meeting, he was only about 1/10 off the record, so he got on top of it pretty quick. One thing that we decided to do probably 5-6 years ago was definitely keep manufacturing in Australia. We did look at the offshore thing going through Thailand and a company over there, but we decided to keep it in Australia and employ another few more guys to help keep up with it all. All our tube has to come from overseas because there's no local supplier that manufactures that tube. And our catalytic converters is about the only two items that we import from overseas. We do the whole thing, from cutting our flange plates to bending all the pipe to welding them up and jigging them, painting them, cleaning them, wrapping and sending them out. And it's a one-stop shop. We invested heavily into a lot of new machines, new laser cutters, put on couple of new tube benders now, and that muffler manufacturing machinery we've put in now. Basically to keep up with the times, you know what I mean? Like, you can sit there and hand make mufflers all day, but when you can only make 30 a day and that machine can pump out 600 to 800 mufflers a day, it's quite a large variation. So that's helped us get on top of all our back orders. We've just brought in like a ceramic coating line into the shop, which complements our exhaust manufacturing side. So a lot of extractors get ceramic coated to drop the underbonnet temperature down and keep the gas speed up. We also have a billet range of products coming out, which is another thing that we're going to try and launch next year. The billet product range is through a local guy, Peter Gruber, who first designed billet products back in, I think, 2000 as well. He started off. And then he sort of sold off that company, and whoever brought it sort of let it go dormant. And we've been lucky enough to have Pete come on board and work for us full time now, and we brought some new machines and we're starting to make some new products, and we're going to revive that company, bring it back up to where it used to be. Our DPE brand's quite strong out there, but we also do work for like Tickford, which is association with ProDrive, and same with Walkinshaw through HSV, so those companies keep us pretty busy as well as doing our own brand. Probably 3 or 4 times a week we get those emails that say, look, I just put your exhaust on, love it, can't thank you guys enough. So it's quite rewarding in that aspect,
We've assembled teams from the best of Australia's car building and car tuning workshops to see who can build the toughest street monster. Our teams will go head-to-head in a final fuel-burning rubber shredding competition. This week, our 4 workshops are heads down deep in their builds. We change it up and head to Adelaide to go jet car racing in the Australia vs USA Jet Car Challenge.
We're at Adelaide International Raceway here in Virginia, and yeah, putting on a jet car show for the crowd, so pretty excited about it. A jet car is a car, 4 wheels, no axles, no drivetrain. It's just thrust driven from a jet engine that we put inside the car. So in a nutshell, we buy the engines wherever we can find them, and then we build afterburners for the back of the motors as well, because a lot of the air from a jet engine actually bypasses around the motor to keep the engine cool. So what we're doing is putting more fuel at the back of the engine to burn all the oxygen that's not being used by the jet engine, and that makes it more power again. So almost an afterburner will double the engine's horsepower, so they're quite good. It's really hard to calculate the power they make. In America, they average from 10 to 12,000 horsepower. If you start trying to Google the theories on the calculation, you end up in NASA's website somewhere, yeah. So, yeah, we just stick to the US guys and go off a ballpark, yeah.
I drive the DeFilippo Performance Exhaust USA Jet Funny Car. I started off crewing for Darren and Charlie on their Top Fuel Mustang back at Summernats, which is probably 15 years ago, and then progressed from there onto their Top Fuel Dragster and Nitro Funny Car operation, and Daz was building 2 jet cars. I didn't know what was going on, but anyway, next thing you know, he said, "Oh, would you have a drive?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll try." And yeah, here we are now, 4 years later, and yeah, running another race meeting here in Adelaide. Because I was born in the States, I hold the dual citizenship, but I have lived here for 34 years. I am an Aussie, but I am a Yank.
Driven a top alcohol dragster, then went straight to Top Fuel. Done that for, I think, 7 or 8 years, and then we dabbled into the Nitro Funny Car, which was obviously goes hand in hand. They're the same motor and clutch combinations and everything. It's just in a short wheelbase car. Then we built a nitro burnout car as well. That all eventuated into the jet cars as well. And that's where we are today, playing around with these cars.
So the controls are pretty simple. We have a main power switch, and then we've got our afterburner solenoids, our crackers which ignite the turbine when we get our RPM up. Our RPM here is not measured in RPM like a car, it's measured in percentage. So going up to the start line, we'll be at 70% doing our pops with our afterburner, and that'll skid us in the line. So we're pulling the afterburner pump, igniting it and shutting it off really quickly, and that's what gives that pop, and you end up skidding along the racetrack and up to the pre-stage.
Going to nitro to jet cars, all the guys on our crew are all very similar in age. We all get along great. All started to produce kids around the same time. A nitro car has 300 or 400 hours of physical engine building labour after each event. Like, it's just out of control. We tried to run the 2 funny car and the Top Fueler together, and the workload was it was horrendous. So we've on-sold that car. The sport took a bit of a turn with 2 governing bodies coming in trying to take over, and then all of a sudden the series was only between Queensland and Sydney, and it was probably the right time to park the operation. And once we sold that, was the decision to build a couple of jet funny cars. So it's nothing like strapping into a short wheelbase car for a lot of power.
So when we're at pre-stage, we'll get the thumbs up from our crew guy. We bring our RPM right up to 90%. We pull our afterburner pump on, and that will smoke out the start line. We both sit there for a little bit, let the smoke build up, bring our RPM to full noise, and then we bump into full stage. When we see the amber, foot off the brake, hit the afterburner, hold on, and when we get to the other end or to the finish line, you throw the 2 levers, and that will shut your accelerator off, your afterburner pump, and throw our parachute. If we don't feel that tug on the parachute quick enough, we have our reserve here. If we shut that one off, it shuts the fuel instantly to the motor, and we'll throw our reserve parachute.
Next up on Rides Down Under, we see if the Aussies can take out race 1 of our Jet Car Challenge, or will Team USA spoil the party?
drive a jet car, it's quite daunting. You got to respect what you're sitting next to and what you're in control of all that power and what it's capable of doing. So before I hop in the car, I'm very conscious of that, and you get the butterflies, and that's the sign of respect of what you're about to go and do. Once the car's running and the crew all give me the thumbs up and good to go, those butterflies seem to go away, and my main focus is getting the job done, pleasing the crowd, doing what I have to do, not hitting a wall and stopping. At the time, you're having a good time, but it's more when you reflect later on that you realise how much of a good time you're having. So when you leave the line, it throws you in the seat and you're telling yourself, I'm moving. The good thing about a jet car, the experience in it, is that it keeps pulling all the way down the racetrack. That feeling doesn't go away. So you got that good acceleration feeling from start to finish. There's no mellowing out. It just progressively gets stronger as you go down the racetrack.
We just had our first run, laid the smack down on the USA car, which is always a good thing. We cracked the fuel line then, and so we just fixed that up now, and yeah, we're getting ready for next run.
So after the run, we come back to the pits. First thing the boys will do is grab the parachute, untangle it or whatever, repack the parachute, refuel the car, go over the tyre pressures, all the fuel lines, that gets checked. When the tailpipes are cooled down, one of the boys will climb in and check for cracks. The tailpipe's glowing down the quarter mile. When we shut off, it goes from glowing red to instant cool air. By the time we get back here, it starts to crack, metal fatigue. Besides that and the fuel, we're good to go. Last time we were here in Adelaide, I took the boss down, 3 out of 3. Somehow after that first run today, I don't think I'm going to get it that easy this time.
The car went really well. It took off well. I think Pete sort of had a bit of trouble going through the staging lines where the car actually started to skid on him, so he didn't actually get the stage right. And with jet cars, it's very critical. They are hard to stage.
Darren went a little bit quicker than I am at getting the full noise up, so he left at full RPM, I left a little bit lower, and I couldn't track him down, basically, so I won't do that again.
Overall, look, this thing went like a steam train. It was very impressive at the top end. It was good.
The next run, take out the boss.
Put on a good close run, get the flames hanging out. As the sun goes down, the afterburner is going to look a lot more aggressive. The smoke and fire shall be 10 times better. One in the UK has been 330 mile an hour, but they average anywhere from 270 to 280 mile an hour. Adelaide is 1,000 foot, so our mile an hours will be a bit down, but because it's a really short runoff, and unfortunately with a jet car we accelerate really hard on that last bit of the 300 foot of racetrack.
When we shut the accelerator and throw the parachute, we free roll with the turbine still spinning and accelerating for probably 1.5 seconds. And it's in that time when the parachute snaps that the car wants to go all over the place, and you got to try and correct it and stay straight.
Pete threw my stage off because his first pre-stage light come on, mine come on. He went in before me, and then so I started to bring my revs up, and then I saw his top light go off, so he's actually gone through the light, and then it just threw my whole staging procedure. So then when I finally got ready to take off, I hit the afterburner, and then it sort of flustered a bit, and then shut it down, and then rehit it again. So we'll be right for the next one.
That run was grouse, but I left and got a red light, so don't really get a win light, but no, I actually staged it right then, went full noise. It was dragging me through So you're hard on the brakes are holding, the thrust of the motor is making you skid. It just wants to push you. So you can have the biggest brakes in the world and it will still do it. It's not going to help. I had to go. If you don't do that, you'll flat spot the tyres because you just skidding on the tyres. So when it starts pulling you through, you basically forfeit the win and just enjoy the ride. Plans for the next run is not to red light and stage properly and beat him fair and square. But hey, look, have fun. That's the aim of the game. Put on a show, have fun.
We've split a tailpipe. When you give them a bit of a hard time and we do those big pops on the start line and the flame and all that, the stainless obviously expands and retracts, and then sometimes you get cracks in the tailpipe.
The track's cooling down, they're into elimination, so there's less cars going down the track, so the track prep will go away a little bit, so we might find it a bit harder to stage this time, but I think we've learned our lesson on staging the cars today, so we'll just get it done.
My role basically here is maintaining the cars in between runs, and then on the start line procedure, once we start the cars, the boys, when we turn the pumps on to check for leaks, they give me the thumbs up. Then Peter and Darren actually turn their attention to me, so that's when we start the fire show.
It fired up, it done everything normal, but it just sat at 30%. It wouldn't climb over. So I tried to give it a bit more fuel and it didn't do anything, so I tried a bit less, so we shut it off. So I said, go start Pete and then come back here and we'll try again. Maybe it had a bit of air in the system, but it was definitely the starter motor. It seems to have burnt the starter motor out of the car for some reason.
We try and limit it to 5 pops with smoke and fire. Then I tell both the boys to bring the car up to a little bit higher RPM, and then they start doing their big aggressive pops. So we do 5 of them, and then basically we bring them into the stage, and that's when they turn the pumps on again and bring themselves into the full stage and start the run. Yeah.
With the start-up show that we put on, which is the smoke and the fire and the actual run, we roughly go through about 100 litres of jet fuel per car per run. They're not shy on the actual going through the fuel consumption, and from green light to finish light, I would estimate about 30 to 35 litres of fuel.
Oh, the kids love it. Like anything to do with fire and smoke and explosions, the kids are going bonkers, and the mums and dads are going nuts too.
They were amazing. And they were like, the flames are just everywhere and the smoke. And it was really loud. So cool.
When they first come out, far out, I've never seen anything like it.
They blew my mind.
They were wicked.
Just the noise and everything was great.
The jet cars were like shooting all those massive flames out the back.
The whole track was vibrating as it went down.
Oh, absolutely awesome, mate.
Feedback's been really positive. Everyone's happy. You know, we've had good comments. You know, if they're leaving the venue, they're leaving entertained, which is what we aim to do.
Yeah, look, Adelaide's one of those places, it's got that great atmosphere, good crowds, and, you know, they seem to really appreciate the jet cars, and I'm very disappointed to everyone about that last run, sorry, but sometimes these mechanical things can happen, but hats off to Pete, he done good all weekend as well, so it was a good deal altogether.
There's never a bad day at the racetrack.
No, that's right.
It's Darren and Charlie told me early on that it can be a 50-cent part that can stop you going to the start line.
It's one of those things, yeah, like what do you do? I got the best seat in the house, I got smoked out on the start line, I couldn't see anything, and then got to watch him go down the track, so that was good.
It could have easily have been my starter motor that went as well, and I sat there and watched him go down the track. The finals at Adelaide seem to be a nemesis for Daz, because this is the second time he hasn't been able to make it. Sorry, man.
Yeah, it's all right.